Angela.
Hey, Angie. All right, Zoe, you want to go ahead and get started?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right, we're going to get started. Thanks for hopping on with us today. We're going to go ahead and jump in. My name is Samantha Marker with Milo Fabashan Realty.
I'm Zoe Higginson with Mortgage One.
First and foremost, thanks for joining us, the virtual real estate happy hour. Make sure you have a drink in your hand. Some housekeeping rules. Please mute your mics. Remember, if you have a camera on, everyone can see you. If you have questions, submit those in the chat box and we'll address them at the end. And for today, we're going to be talking about the discussion with 2008 again. Is this 2008 again or not? Along with analysis of the current market trends, what we expect the future of real estate to look like. We're going to specifically look at lead indicators such as number of showings in our local market, number of properties under contract, and of course, if right now is a good time to buy or sell.
Then I'm going to give some lending industry updates, and then we'll do a question and answer at the end. Let me check real quick if everyone's on mute. I think there's a couple of people that aren't. Angela, Kevin, and William.
Oh, yeah.
You want me to mute myself?
Yeah, or else it'll go onto your screen and.
All right.
Okay, you ready, Samantha?
Yep. Okay. So is this 2008 again? Of course, the short answer is no. Are we going to see the huge depreciation that we saw over a decade ago? Simple answer, no. Just to compare and contrast the subprime mortgage crisis of 2008 to COVID-19, we can start with the fact that 2008 was a subprime mortgage crisis that was driven by an unhealthy market brought by overly lenient lending practices. Conversely, COVID-19 is a public health crisis that has had an effect on the housing market along with other aspects of our economy. So just to be clear, this is a health crisis brought about by an economic downturn and not a housing crisis brought about by an unhealthy economy. This is very important to remember. So Zoe, can you tell us a little bit about the higher standards in lending in comparison to 2008?
Yeah, so when you have a healthy economic system, that just means there's higher standards for the lending industry. Moving from 2008, there's now more compliance and regulations. So that makes the lender more accountable to selling good loans off. But back in 2008, lenders were structuring mortgages with no assets, no income, no down payment, and that ended up causing the borrowers to default on their loans. We don't have that as much anymore.
Okay, good deal. So we're going to look at V curve versus the U curve. What's important about the distinction with 2008 housing crisis and economic decline caused by COVID-19 is how our economy, of course, will recover. So as you see above, there are two forms of recovery, a V-shape and a U-shape. A U-shaped recovery is what we experienced following 2008. During a U-shaped recovery, the period is drawn out over several years, requires a gradual rebuilding of our economy system. On the other hand, a V-shaped recovery exhibits a sharp economy followed by a sharp economic increase. So what most major financial institutions are predicting is a V-curve recovery as opposed to the U-curve recovery that we saw in 2008. Now that we've had our economic lesson for the day, let's go ahead and unpack why we're really here, the real estate market. Essentially, what the data from large institutions is telling us is that the economic fallout from COVID-19 will be significant, however short-lived, and the economy should rebound very quickly following the end of this pandemic. With that information in mind, the housing market is unlikely to see severe depreciation that resulted from the 2008 housing crisis. So recession versus housing crisis, a lot of people are thinking that that's what we're heading towards. A recession is defined as 2 successive quarters of economic decline. Current projections expect a small economic decline in Q1 of 2020, and then the expectation that Q2 will be substantially lower than Q1. So what I'm trying to say is that we are in store for an economic slowdown. However, as you'll see in the graph, a recession is not the same thing as a housing crisis. Historically, looking back at the last 5 recessions, 3 of the 5 actually resulted in increase in housing values. So it's very important to separate the recession and a housing crisis. So from an economic standpoint, just want everyone to understand that, yes, the virus has taken a significant toll on the stock market. And then as you can see in the chart, every viral emergency, the stock market got hit pretty bad. To demonstrate this, we broke down for you all the virus outbreaks going all the way back to 2003, all of which were followed by a strong recovery. So a really good analogy that I like to think of is 9/11. A lot of the economic results from 9/11 parallel with COVID-19. Both generated fear, anxiety among the general public. People avoided crowds. You know, they believed another terrorist attack was going to happen. And they're thinking the same thing today, you know, getting sick, going out in the general public and being around people. So the same parts of the economy are under pressure right now: airlines, leisure, hospitality, restaurants, and entertainment. So active inventory, you know, what we're really here for, real estate. We have the active inventory in both Cape Coral and Fort Myers. As you see, inventory is relatively low for both areas compared to late 2018 and early 2019. There's a simple reason for that. Both in Fort Myers and Cape Coral, we've had a record number of home sales preceding the COVID-19 slowdown. So listings under contract, this is a very important metric. This is a floating average of current listings under contract. As you see, a significant spike in properties under contract in January of 2020, which led to a corresponding deficiency in inventory that we saw in the previous slide. So to break this down, we have a lot of buyers entering the Southwest Florida housing market, and we are seeing a substantial amount of activity in home purchases.
Yeah, and I also want to add on that we're still in a very active real estate market. People are still buying and selling. It's obviously slowed down a little, but you know, we're actively doing mortgages every day.
Yep, same for us. People are still wanting to buy and sell. So closed sales, here you'll see the closed sales in 2018, both in Cape Coral, Fort Myers. The number of closed sales have stayed rather steady with a few minor peaks and troughs here and there. You'll see that on the graph. Also, just to add, Lee County saw a double-digit increase in closings in both single-family and condo purchases. There was almost 16% of an increase from March of 2019 to March 2020 in closed single-family home sales and condo sales. So this is one of my favorite charts actually to show. It's the one on the leading edge of data regarding home sales here in Southwest Florida, in Florida in general actually. The graph shows the number of showings from 2019 in blue, you'll see that, or purple. I like to think it's actually purple. Zoe said it's blue. And then a number of showings in 2020 in orange. So you'll see the difference, and it's actually been quite similar until March 11th. Then, of course, you see a drastic reduction in showings, followed by a relatively steep increase. Personally, I believe the housing market sales will follow the same trajectory of showings because we all know, showings lead to sales. And here's another good one. The market watch for the past 7 days, both in Cape Coral and Fort Myers. This is important to keep an eye on because, it shows you all the new listings. You see that 113 new listings in Cape Coral and 128 in Fort Myers, just in the last 7 days for all residential. And then when you go down and look at under contract, 160 in Cape Coral, and then 176 under contract in Fort Myers. This means people are still buying homes. And then when you look at the sold, it's 122 and 151 within the last week. That's pretty steady. And I went back, did a little research, and saw in January, the third week in January, prior to the effects of COVID-19, there were actually 86 properties that sold in Cape Coral and 148 in Fort Myers during the same time period. So that definitely tells us, I mean, it's a pretty steady market for buying and selling here in Southwest Florida.
Can everyone see the graphs? I just got a message that no one can see them.
I cannot see anything.
I can see the graphs.
Okay, that's maybe your phone.
Yeah, I can see the graphs as well.
Okay, let's keep moving then.
So the big question is, should you buy or sell right now? Every situation, of course, is different. But the information provided ultimately in this presentation was to help you, figure out foundation and decision, figure out what is best for you and your family. So if you have questions, you can feel free to reach out to me directly or Zoe for any help.
Yeah, and to add on to that, if you're looking to buy, it's definitely important that you're pre-approved. Getting pre-approved should actually be one of the first steps that you take in your home buying process, because that pre-approval is going to give you an idea of what you qualify for. It also shows the seller that you're serious, and it'll give you some negotiating power.
Awesome.
Okay, so we're going to do some lending rate updates. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, it's always important to know the mortgage market. As a lender, we base our rates that we quote off of the 10-year treasury. So if you see the graph, that's the 10-year treasury, and you can see that when the treasury goes up, rates go up, and then vice versa. If they're going down, they're going to go down. So that trend has been pretty consistent over the last 50 years. Right now, the 10-year treasury is hovering over an all-time low. So that means rates are down, and it's a great time to invest in real estate. Also, another big topic of conversation lately is if the Fed lowering the rates impacts mortgage rates, and that is no. The Fed basically gives an overall picture of the economy, and it's not related to a 30-year mortgage. The Fed's tied more to short-term debt. So an example of that would be your revolving credit lines. It's not related to your long-term mortgages. Okay, let's do some lending updates and new requirements. Based on the COVID-19 crisis, here's some changes. I do want to go over first, it's very important when you are researching advertised rates online that you read the fine print. So usually if the rate is too good to be true, then that is typically the case. Usually the terms require perfect credit, a low loan to value, a loan amount of 200 plus, and then they will usually stick in hidden fees or discount points. So you'll be paying a lot for that low rate. So make sure you're asking for a loan estimate up front. That loan estimate is going to show you all the terms of that mortgage and how they're coming up with that rate. If you're looking to buy, but you're wondering where you will get your down payment from, there's programs out there that can help you to get you to your home buying goal. We do have a grant program right now that offers you 3 or 4% for down payment assistance. That's awesome. The assistance is calculated off the note amount, and this is a great program because you don't ever have to pay that money back. There are a couple of requirements. You have to have a 640 plus credit score, a minimum of 45% debt to income ratio, and then you do have to be buying a primary home. So you can't do this down payment assistance program for an investment or a second home. On the other end, if you are planning to pay cash for a property or liquidate an investment account for your purchase, you might want to think about leaving your money in the market and taking advantage of these low rates because they are really low right now. What do we have next? Okay, so the mortgage industry has also tightened up on a few other things within the last month or so, and I want to go over those. Credit scores, typically you have to have a 580 plus to get a mortgage, and now that minimum score has gone up to a 640, so you can secure a mortgage. Employment underwriters require multiple verifications of employment now. If you're temporarily laid off or furloughed, you're going to have to wait till you get back to work to get that mortgage. And then also if you're self-employed, you have to show proof that you're still in business and working. You would need to show either a business bank statement, deposits, receipts, anything that's showing that your business is still, you know, has income flowing through it. So on that note, if your income has not been affected by COVID-19 and you're in the market to buy, now's a great time to pull that trigger. I don't have a crystal ball, but it's likely that rates are going to stay pretty steady in order to keep the housing market afloat. That's all I got, Sam.
So if anyone has any questions, now's the time to go ahead and enter those into the chat box.
Let's check that.
Looking for my chat box here. There we go. What is the current rate today, Zoe?
Okay, that's a tricky question. Who's that? Rachel. Okay, so let's say you are a perfect borrower and you have a 740 plus credit score. You're buying a primary home and you're putting 20% down. Then you could probably get a 3.25%. That would be today. It changes if you're going to buy an investment, a second home. You're going to be, you know, subject to a higher rate, a condo, everything, you know, it's all variable.
Awesome. We had, I think, Terry Mell who guessed a 3.5.
3.5. What lender is he?
Awesome. Do we have any other questions? No? All right.
Give us a few more minutes.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us. If you have additional questions, feel free to go ahead and contact either Zoe or myself. We're here to help in any way we can.
Awesome. Thanks for joining, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Appreciate it. Thank you.